All right, guys, today's video is chestnut tree maintenance, and I want to explain something here before I get into the video. If you notice, there are no tree protectors around these chestnuts. That's because when Dad passed away, I just didn't feel like doing anything, to be honest with you. There was just that time period where I told myself to do it, kept putting it off, and I never got around to doing it. So there are trees you'll see that have rubs on them. Not all of them do, but maybe less than half have some type of damage this year, but that's only because I just didn't feel like doing it, and that's on me. So if you're new to chestnut trees, please, by all means, use tree protectors. You don't want deer destroying your hard work, and they could wipe out a tree, you know, that bigger tree there, or even that big one there. They could kill that tree in just one go at it. So be very careful. But today I'm going to do some maintenance and get these trees ready for spring. And this is kind of a basic overhaul on chestnut trees. I'm not getting into like advanced cutting for grafting or anything. I'm just simply removing limbs and cleaning the tree up to help it out. So this tree is my oddball tree that I've always had issues with. So in this case, this limb is trying to act like a new trunk. This should be your main trunk, but the tree has always had issues understanding what is what for some reason. It's just a genetic oddity sometimes. They do that from time to time. So I'm going to do a little cleanup here, and what I look for is limbs that are obviously sticking out like an eyesore to remove. So this limb is going to go away here. I also look at limbs crossing and growing back toward the trunk. You need to get those out of the way. They're going to cause problems. They're going to rub on the tree. That can invite disease, and I want a nice, clean, growing tree. So I have to do a choice here. I've got several choices that I'm going to have to make. So what I'm planning to do is I want to cut this limb off completely. I want to see if I can get rid of this limb, that the energy will go into what should be the main trunk. And if it takes over and grows the best, then I think I've solved the problem temporarily. So I want to come in here, remove this limb because it's rubbing on the trunk. You can see how it's already bent this limb. So this right here needs to go. This little limb here needs to go. I want this guy gone because it's going on what could be, you know, the possible new trunk. Even if it was a regular limb, I still wouldn't want it touching that limb. Also, I'm looking at limbs that, you know, if this limb here was growing parallel with the trunk, I would immediately cut that limb off. I don't want competing limbs running up my trunk. You want the trunk to take over and have all the clear space it needs. And you can see the growth pattern here. So that's a lot of trimming, a lot of limbs is going to be gone. And I have a feeling that as much as I'm fixing to cut off from here, this will probably be the fastest grower of the entire chestnut tree group here, because I'm fixing to remove so much. So what I'm going to do, because I can't use single hand and cut, I'm going to stop the video here, and then I'm going to edit part 2 in the end of this so you can see the final result and what I'm looking for, just to keep these trees from causing problems down the road. I always look at long-term situations. So even if this does turn out to be the new trunk, these limbs here will no longer be here later on. They're kind of okay now, but eventually they won't be. So if I make a choice to cut this off now, it won't bother me one bit, because I know I'm going to remove it at some point in the future anyway. All right, guys, hang on for part 2. All right, guys, here we are on part 2. And you can see this tree looks really different. Clean. No crisscrossing limbs. And I'm going to let the tree decide who wants to be the top. I'm hoping that this one does it, but if not, that's already a good start. But I made nice clean cuts, trying to keep these limbs, you know, when you cut them they just want to rip, and I did everything I could to prevent it from literally ripping a gap down the trunk or these other limbs. So I have freed up a lot. And then down here I ended up cutting a whole lot off of this tree. There was a lot of crisscrossing going on here, so cut this one, which my cutter kind of got in a bind right there, which wasn't good, but good clean cut. And I removed a main limb that was actually the main portion of the limb, but it was growing right back toward the trunk. So that guy's gone, and this will give more opportunity for the canopy up here on the main part of the tree to expand and grow healthier. You can see some pretty good sized limbs that I've taken off here. That's probably, I don't know, closer to 7.5, 8 feet. Pretty good sized limb. And if you can see the growth on it here, that was last year's growth. So from here all the way up to there, that's about 3 feet. So these trees do grow very fast. This limb right here was in the way of the tractor when I come through, which was that limb. And now I can come under here clean without bumping the canopy on anything. I did very little maintenance to this one, even though it does need some more. There's limbs out of my reach, and I'll need the pole trimmer for that one. Cut one limb off of that one. This one here, about 3 small limbs, because they were kind of clustering up and trying to grow back. That one had a hard turn and growing back toward the trunk, and I got rid of him and basically just did a cleanup job on the inside right there to space that out better. This tree here got a decent amount of maintenance put on it. You can see the rub right here. Unfortunately didn't kill the tree, so we're okay. Again, good clean cuts. And this limb, if you're wondering why in the world would I want to cut a good growing limb, it was actually better shaped than this limb, but it was actually growing like this and pushing the main leader away and making the tree lean. So this guy was going to cause a problem and affect the structure of the tree at some point. So I would much rather remove this guy and in the long term that fill in. And it won't take long with these trees. I would have a feeling with what I've cut off from here already, this tree will probably double or triple its growth rate. A lot more energy this time. And it also depends on how that buck rub affected it. This tree here has 0 maintenance put on it. That's good. There's a limb or two I'm watching for next year. I'll probably do a little cleanup for that. Over here, this guy's in pretty good shape, but I do need to take off this ugly little limb right here. That, I don't like the way that's growing together there, and it's quite a bit busy right there because I've got a strangely forked limb right here, and I need to remove one of them right there. I don't like that at all. So I'll get the trimmer and fix that one. I kind of missed that. This tree here, you can see how that oak limb's shading it out. I'm hoping to get some help with this one, and I'm going to cut that oak limb off as far back as I can get it, and that tree right there will thank me for it, because it really needs a lot more sun. It's already produced a couple of times, and then other years it makes nothing, and it's basically because of that limb. Right here, a lot of maintenance. I don't have my saw out here, so I went ahead and topped all this stuff off. And we're going to get rid of him. Leave this one. The canker's healed over fairly well. And I know this one looked healthier, but it also developed a pretty good canker there. I'm going to get rid of it. This tree here seems to have a weaker resistance than my other trees. None of these others really have that issue, but this one here seems to. Quite a bit of maintenance in the future for this tree. This is the one that grows really nice, really bushy, and I've opened up a gap in here now. And eventually these two, you know, right here's your growth. And eventually these two big limbs on the bottom, I'm going to cut them down. They're doing a lot of ugly, nasty things I don't like seeing. And this is kind of what I'm talking about. Initially everything's okay here, but as the limb kept growing, it kept turning up, up, and up. And now it's turning that way toward the trunk. And it's eating into what could be really good canopy space for the upper portion of that tree. And I need both of these limbs gone. So most likely I'm going to take the chainsaw and cut those two off and get rid of them. If I don't do it this year, I'll do it next year. I don't have a pole trimmer to buy me time out here, or at least out here with me tonight. I would have to go get my trimmer to fix a lot of that that's going wrong up there. But chestnuts can require some maintenance. I'm just getting everything ready for spring. Very, very, very little trimming was done here. Mostly a little bit of internal limbs that were growing, you know, like up here it was growing up and kind of back. I got rid of limbs that looked like that. Small maintenance on that tree. And basically I just need to cut a few limbs off to get the tractor to pass better under here. And there were a few limbs that were growing back toward each other. Got rid of them. This tree needs more maintenance than what I've given it. A lot of crisscrossing in there. I'd like to clean some of that up. Some of that's growing pretty nasty looking, especially right here, double limb growing side by side there. I don't like the looks of that at all. You can kind of see it there better. But most of the small stuff is actually done. Very little trimming here. I just cut off that one hanger right there because the canopy would bump it when you come through. And I'm gonna wait till I get the pole trimmer. I'm gonna take off this ugly third limb right here. See how it's crisscrossing in, and there's already enough limb activity there. I don't need it. So this will help the tree grow faster. It'll help it grow cleaner. You're less likely to have limbs rubbing on each other and causing unnecessary cankers in these trees. Just because they're blight resistant does not mean they won't get it. These trees are strong enough to survive it. So you can still get those ugly cankers, and I just don't want them happening unnecessarily in my limbs. So whatever I can control with my pole trimmer, I will come out here and do so. So that's the maintenance for the chestnuts. And then we're going to get later on, when these buds swell up, I'll show you the other part that I do to get these trees going and prepare for higher nut crops. Have a good day, guys. I hope this video helps.